where SMU and Clemson are set to meet as the Mustangs look to continue their college football ascension with a conference championship. This week, Mustangs head coach Rhett Lashlee said their top 8 position in the latest playoff rankings means they should be in the college football playoff no matter what happens versus Clemson. We know the winner is definitely in, but there's uncertainty over whether the loser can make it into the 12-team field. Lashlee makes a good case for a team that is on one of the longest active win streaks in the game. A win today makes it 10 in a row, alongside Notre Dame, a few games behind Oregon, who can push their streak to 14 with a win in the Big Ten title game. For Clemson, they backdoored their way into the ACC title game, and they don't want to rely on the same thing for the playoff. The Tigers looked college football playoff certainties in September and October, but a slide in November had them needing help to get to the ACC title game, and they got that help. But if they lose here, that may be it, with Miami looking perhaps like a better playoff fit or something else. As you take a look at the most conference championship game wins, Dabo Swinney is right near the top of that list. He's got 8 in a row. Let's dig into this a bit with Austin Hannon, who covers Clemson for our partners at 24/7 Sports. The great thing for Clemson, Austin, is Dabo Swinney is that they've seen this before, right? They've been to the ACC title game, 10th ACC title game appearance under Dabo. They've won 8 straight. How much do you think that experience is going to benefit Clemson in this position versus an SMU team that hasn't been here in a very long time?
Yeah, there's a people kind of sit on different sides of this fence. What does it matter, right? Because those 8 teams that we're talking about with Clemson, none of those same some of those same players from 2 years ago on this team, but for the majority, those guys, that's almost 10 years ago now when we're talking about Clemson and winning national titles and all that stuff. They have been dominant in this league, and I think that gives them a lot of confidence in this city that they've come to and won so many times. Dabo's won 8. He's actually won 8 in a row. He lost his first appearance back in 2009, which was his first time in this game. And this game hasn't been around too long. Clemson's played in the majority of them. And so there is a comfort level there. But if they don't fix the way they've been playing, against some of these top teams they've seen this year, winning 8 games in the past doesn't really mean anything for Saturday night. So there's a lot that goes into it. But I think, like you said, SMU's, this is their first time doing this. Obviously, they made that big jump from the American. They went undefeated in the American last year, won the conference. And then take the jump to the Power 4, and it's been like no problem. They went 8-0 in the conference this year. They haven't lost a conference game in 2 years now, and they're looking to finish the deal. On SMU, it really is interesting just because this is kind of 2 different opposites. We got this matchup. Everybody thought it was going to be Miami a few weeks ago. They lose to Syracuse, and so now SMU, the first-year team, has got a chance to take out the team that's kind of owned this conference for a decade now. So can Dabo Swinney hold on? Can he win a 9th in a row here in Charlotte? Or can Rhett Lashlee and SMU come in here and, kind of stake their claim to this conference in year 1?
It's set to be a good game. Austin Hannon in Charlotte, North Carolina for 24/7 Sports, and us talking Clemson and SMU as they get set to meet in the title game. Thank you very much, Austin. Let's continue the conversation with the SMU side of things here, Brandon, because I want to ask you, you heard what Rhett Lashlee said this week about the fact that because they're in the top 8, they should automatically get a spot in the college football playoff. Do you agree with that?
I do, but they cannot lose by more than 2 touchdowns tonight, because if that ends up happening, I think that takes it completely off the table and out of their hands into a point where they'll be left out. But if SMU makes this a close game, if they lose, they should be in. What bothers me about all this really is that the whole entire conversation all week around SMU is when they lose. Like, what if they win? What is their seeding should be then? SMU is a really darn good team. They own 8 wins by double digits this season. They've beaten everybody on their schedule practically, except for BYU earlier in this season when they were a much different team with a different quarterback, by the way, SMU, not Kevin Jennings. But SMU certainly deserves to be in. You cannot punish a team by slipping them as many as 4 spots or more in the rankings because they had to play an extra game in a championship game, which they got to by winning every single game in your conference.
Do you think that comment this week, did that perk you up in any way? Because when I heard that, I was kind of like, wait a minute, he's kind of sowing some seeds depending on what happens either way. It struck me as perhaps a little bit of nerves creeping in almost.
I think potentially, the other thing is I go back to what Rhett Lashlee was saying just a couple of weeks ago about how we need to win to get in. And now things have changed, obviously, because of the chaos in front of them, to where if you lose, you could still get in. And I wonder if the committee and others hearing that earlier this season, you make them think, well, do they really deserve to be in if they don't win out? You know, you got to be careful as a coach nowadays when you're out there politicking in the public space, what exactly you need to be saying about your team in the playoffs.
SMU chasing their 13th conference title in program history, but their first in over 4 decades. Got to go back to the early 80s to find the last one. All right, time for a break here on your college football pregame. But when we come back, it's time to put Mackenzie Brooks to work. We're going to get some parlay picks from her next.